Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. If you enjoy our content, please consider donating and following our socials.
So, Lord Knight, we've talked a lot about rituals and what makes a good ritual and what a ritual is composed of and what you shouldn't do for a ritual. But something we've never really addressed is how a good ritual often comes with a bit of homework.
Yes.
Yeah. Or some take-home component. Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about anything sometimes not too difficult.
No.
Maybe go home, bury this.
Bury this, hang this, meditate on this, put this somewhere that you'll be reminded of it. Yeah. Occasionally it's, write something about something, or it's usually not anything super intense, but why? Yeah, let's talk about the why. Why do we do that? Why is ritual homework important?
Because again, we believe that our lives, that our lives should interrupt our religion, not our religion interrupt our lives.
Right. So the goal is always to help practitioners to bring some circle back home and back to their mundane, to be a reminder and to be a more integral part of their day-to-day. We see, however, a lot of rituals where that's not the case, and it's just sort of, we're here,
Yeah.
And I always kind of wonder about that. Like, to me, any good service, sermon, mass, right, there has to be a take-home portion.
To me, it should at least strike up some conversation, something.
It's seasonal.
It seems like ritual should motivate you to want to research more into this, or to look into, or to do. I don't know how to put that. What I'm trying to say.
It should evoke the want for more connection.
Yes.
Yeah. Not be some kind of a patch for it.
Right.
Like a nicotine patch. Like I got my monthly dose of ritual. I'm good. I'm good. I'll just slap another one on next month.
Well, then, but we also have those people who are, I'm good for a year.
Well.
Too. So, is hoping that we can instill a need or a want to also still be in ritual space. The majority of our religion is literally focused on that ritual part, not life itself.
Right.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
Why, even though those rituals mimic life, at the same time.
It's hard because there's this weird balance of if everything is sacred, then nothing is sacred.
Right.
Right. And so it's hard inside of ritual space because we construct something and we build something that is very powerful and very palpable, but we can't live in that all the time.
No.
I mean, we could, but it would be a little challenging.
Well, I mean, I hate to be this way. There are people that go out there and do the lesser banishing ritual where they come home, they do this, they're technically sitting in the middle of their living room watching TV inside sacred space.
Right, inside sacred space, yeah. And I mean, it's one way to get used to it. It's one way to have it affect you a little less and be able to function more effectively in it.
Or could it be overdoing it? Too much exposure.
Yeah.
Taking you too far onto the spiritual plane, not allowing you to focus on this plane.
Yeah. Always a risk.
So again, delicate balance here.
Right. So how do we give out little doses? Yeah.
Homework.
Right. So what are some of the types of homework that you've done throughout the years?
Oh, that have been given to me?
Or that you've given?
Let's see. I believe there was one year we all passed the plant around.
Okay.
Everybody had to take care of a plant for a whole year.
Oh, wow.
Everybody had to keep it alive.
Wow.
And had to bring it back for each full moon.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Okay, that's cool. Okay. We've had rituals where we've had plants that have been given to everyone in circle to take home and to keep alive. We have had rituals where you are given a gift inside of circle that you are then instructed to re-gift
to someone else. Oh no, those are fun because again, how do you tell the other person what in the world's going on?
Yeah. Well, depends on how forthright you want to be.
And the time of the season, because Christmas is a good way.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Gosh, we have had seeds or anything botanical, right, that needs to be taken care of or replanted or purposed.
I think we've even took wild seed just to go out anywhere randomly to throw them out.
Yep. What else? We have had rituals that involve quotes, phrases, parables, right, that are then to be meditated upon for a certain amount of time or taken into your mundane life as reminders. Those are always fun, little affirmations and the like.
I've seen some, where I've seen a lot where we have other people interact with other people outside. Yeah.
We've done things with music and musical instruments that are meant to, just bring a little spark of music magic into your life outside of ritual space.
Well, now this whole entire process can be a little disconcerting when you first come into circle and it's your first time and then you start to realize you have homework. Mm-hmm. What was that like for you? That first time you're sitting there in ritual and I go, hey, here, take care of this.
I think early on it's a little nerve-wracking because you don't want to mess up. You don't want to be the witch whose dog ate your homework, right, or who forgot to do your homework. So that can be a little tough. And so you become a little obsessed in that regard.
Right.
And then there's also something that happens where I think early on we get really sometimes intense about that came from sacred space. Don't touch that. Right. Yes. We become protective unnecessarily of the thing.
Right.
Yeah. Which the irony of that is technically everything comes from sacred space. So stop it. It's fine. And then sometimes it's incorporating something into your own magical practice that you normally wouldn't.
Right.
Right? I was given or gifted this thing. How do I use this now?
Right.
How do I get creative about what I could do with this? Yeah. That's always interesting.
It's definitely, when you start taking these lessons outside of circle, when you start paying attention, you start to see things and notice things that you normally don't.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Most of the witches I know already know what color the leaves are going to change and when they're going to change, pretty much.
I mean, we're sitting here in January in North Carolina. It's freaking cold, and we are already talking about planting and gardening.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not even, it doesn't even sound out of place to us.
Not at all. Even though the ground's too cold to work right now.
But yet, when you're first coming into this thing, people will go, what? Mm-hmm. So be aware out there. Hey, you might go to ritual. You could wind up with homework.
Yeah. It's not. I think it's becoming more and more a thing. And I think it's, if nothing else, it's always nice to plant a seed inside of ritual or an idea that people take with them. We don't do a lot of praying in circle.
No.
Because I would rather you take that prayer home. And yeah.
Now let's take this concept and compare it to, why don't the Catholics do this? Or do Catholics do this?
They do.
Because I can't think of any of the Southern Baptist churches I went to that did stuff like that.
The Catholics do it because it's part of the sacrament process. Like the Catholics do it with like rosaries and prayer beads and, you know, things like that. But the Catholics, to me, you know, again, this is where I always say it kind of that upbringing really primed me to be a pagan. I mean, I remember, you know, Palm Sunday, we would get the palms, and as a kid, I never understood what the big deal was. I'm like, what's with the palms? And then my dad would take them, and, you know, some people would just take the palm and like hang it somewhere in their house, or just, no, my dad, because he learned from his dad, knew how to take the palm and tie it up into a cross.
Right.
And take other little pieces of the palm to make, and he would like origami a palm, and then he would make crosses for everybody in the family, and these things were all over the house. You know, they were stuck everywhere. So one would be in somebody's car, you'd see it in somebody's bathroom mirror, you know. Yeah.
I love that idea.
Super,
that's just...
But it's basically it's a Bridget's eye. It's the same concept as us making one of those. You know, the Catholics were big. I mean, you know, wearing the ashes on Ash Wednesday and walking around with your smudgy forehead all day, and you know, same thing.
Us and the blue star and
There was always something that felt like you were kind of being given a bit of homework.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. But it's constructive. It's nice. I enjoy it anyway. If a group isn't used to doing that yet, how do you introduce it?
Slowly to start off with. Maybe do one full moon.
Okay.
Then see how that goes. Then do another and another.
Yeah.
And see how people take to it. Because some people will, some people won't.
Yeah.
You know, because there's many times we've gone to ritual, and yes, there's homework, and yes, you find my homework laying on my desk here.
Well, I think, too, the reality is there's no grading system.
No.
Don't make people feel like there's an obligation or like they have to.
Well, we're never going to ask you the next full moon.
Did you do it?
Did you?
Right.
We just automatically assume you do and go on.
And we go on. Yeah, we don't try to make it an accountability system, because I think when you do that, then you start making people nervous.
No, but the only time we would get involved in that is if we do a meditation or something and somebody has something that comes up.
Yeah.
And then that's specifically.
Yeah. You're right. You know what? Because usually we have students come to us and go, hey, so I did my full moon homework and here's what happened. And then we're like, oh, okay. Yeah, and then it opens up a secondary discussion or, you know, something in class that we talk about. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But don't make people feel like they have to report on their homework. Otherwise, that will not go well.
No.
But get creative, and I think wherever possible, get people involved in the making process.
Yes.
Get them involved in the hands-on, because that is really where I think you start to foster that idea of making it more of a day-to-day process. Yep.
I like that.
Yeah.
Ready for coffee?
Yeah.
All right. Here lately on a few of the Pagan podcasts and on the news and stuff, I've heard people start to talk more and more about this Christian nationalism.
Okay.
All right.
So let's start with what defines Christian nationalism.
Well, from my understanding, they're wanting the government to run as if it was the church.
Okay.
All right. In other words, all laws are based on the Bible and ran, therefore, as such. I mean,
so basically the church runs the government, not the government running the church.
Right.
Okay.
Kind of like in Rome with the Catholic Church.
Right.
I mean, technically the Pope is their president of their little country.
Yeah, in a manner of speaking.
In a manner of speaking. All your taxes then become tithes to the church.
Right.
I see a lot of people worried about this. Because it is growing, it is becoming more and more of a larger movement, but I don't see it as a movement that will ever actually go anywhere.
Well, it's been a movement from my understanding that's popped up, over the past 5 decades or so.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
I mean,
probably longer than that, but it periodically pops its head up and
right. But
they
with
try
the
to
with
do
the new election and all this, this is resurged
right
as a topic in there, and more people seem to maybe be listening to what these people are saying versus.
Well, I think the reason they're more concerned about it now is because they were very vocal in their support for a particular candidate.
Which we're not getting into.
Yeah, we're not here to discuss all of that, but I'm just saying because of that being so public and so vocal, and that people are considering, okay, maybe this really is a viable threat to religion.
Do you actually see this as an actual threat?
I don't.
I see it as kind of like the Tea Party and how it sort of went. I think this would do the same thing every time.
Yeah, I don't see it as a viable threat simply because if they were to take control, there's gonna be a lot of infighting amongst themselves, because then it's gonna come down to, well, which interpretation are we following?
Are we going to be a country of Baptists? Or are we going to be a country of Catholics? Are we going to be Foursquare Gospel? Or are we going to be?
And see, that's where I don't understand where the Christian nationalists are coming from.
Because these Christian
what's the background? What is the cohesiveness between denominations?
Because I know
that brings them together.
Because me and you both know these denominations, all right?
Sure, yeah.
A lot of these. And I'm telling you right now, they don't get along with one another. They get along with about each other just like pagan groups get along with each other sometimes.
Well, and, there is a coalition of Baptists who are fighting against the Christian nationalist organizations.
On top of it.
But again, that's what I'm saying. I would like to talk to someone and find out what's the cohesiveness of this organization.
Right.
What brings you together?
What sect? Which teachings are you going to follow?
Right.
And which ones aren't you?
So I don't.
I mean, because I know there's a big battle between the Baptists and the Catholics over the whole entire worshiping of false idols. Praying to Mary and all these. Again, there's a big issue religiously there. I mean, literally, there are Baptists that think that Catholics are going to go to hell because they pray to other things besides Christ.
Okay, this is all pretty much common knowledge, though. So I mean,
well, my point here is, why are we so worried about this? They can't even get along with each other. How are they going to get long enough to actually run a country?
Well, that's the thing. If Christian nationalist organization,
right,
I'm going to call it that,
right,
right. If they do have a cohesive foundation that they're following, then that could be an issue. Otherwise, I think it's going to come down to, like I said before, there's going to be a lot of infighting. There's going to be a lot of heads butting, because this portion of the organization wants to follow this particular path. This portion over here on the right wants to follow this particular portion, and nobody's going to agree on anything.
And we don't even want to bring the snake handlers and stuff into this,
right?
To make it even worse on top.
Oh, my guess is they probably don't associate with them. So,
but again, they're Christian.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I keep on seeing the pagan community talk about the Christians as if they're this massive force, this massive wall, and I don't see them that way.
Well, and there's still a lot of pagans out there who tend to bash the Christian religion.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot more hostile intent from the pagan community toward Christianity now than what there used to be.
I think so. I mean, we could be wrong about that, but I see that as a major problem in and of itself, because I think in some ways that's helping to feed folks like Christian nationalists.
Right. Because now we have an enemy.
Right. So it's kind of giving them fuel for the fire, if you will.
Right.
And I think if we all just came down to what we try to teach, and I know some other groups try to teach, is a acceptance and a tolerance of other religions,
Right.
And understand that we have the freedom to believe what we want to believe.
And to worship the way we see fit.
Right. So
without being interfered by anybody else.
If we all just come to that agreement.
Well, see, we still haven't even talked about the whole entire thing that the United States will promote no religion whatsoever or establish a religion.
Yeah, I believe that is in the Constitution.
It is literally written in the Constitution.
Yes.
So my understanding is Christian nationalists would have to take that part out.
Right. There would have to be some changes to our Constitution.
Because you can't have a Church of America.
No.
Or a federally Church of, I don't know how you say that. Kind of like the Church of England.
It would be a national religion.
Yeah.
Just like, certain nations have, a national language.
Right.
An official language. It would be the official religion.
I mean, because in and of itself, Christian nationalists would turn this country into basically what Muslim countries are.
Well, I think it would go back to the whole. Well, yeah, you're right, but I
mean,
think,
not exactly, but I just mean as in tone and feel.
It would go back to the reason this country was founded was because of this.
Right. This is what we ran away from. A government sitting there going, "You must believe and worship this way."
Right. So therefore, I don't think if people truly believe in the Constitution, if people truly believe in the foundation of America, I don't think this will be a problem.
I don't think it is either. And again, I don't even think the coalition would stay together long enough because, like you said, because of the infighting.
Do we need to make a voice against them? Do we need to stand up and say, this cannot happen?
Right.
Or do we just let it go and let it fizzle out?
Well, I don't say we...
Do we take that chance?
I don't say we let it fizzle out or anything. We should talk about it. But again, when you're sitting there talking about it, I don't think we should be talking about it as if it is World War III coming over the hill tomorrow.
No, but I think we do have to understand that it is a threat.
It is again, it's always going to be a threat when you have government. Again, it's the same thing. Would you feel the same way if there was a pagan nationalist movement?
Yeah, I would.
I'd say I would too. I wouldn't want that. Because again, which pagan tradition are you following? Which lore and which myth? And what if we don't all like those?
All good questions.
I mean, because my understanding, there are people who are in these Muslim countries who do want to leave because they don't want to be part of this religion anymore because of the way it treats them.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, once you're in those situations in those type of countries, you normally can't leave, or it's very hard to.
Yeah, I think it's very hard for them to leave.
And so
not that they can't. There's too much in place to make it an easy retreat.
Right.
Or an easy escape.
I mean, because in America, I don't see how in the world they do it unless they make each state a different Christian religion.
That's going to create a whole new set of problems.
Oh, God, yes.
I mean, essentially, you can't do that either because, like I said, then you're going to have states at war with each other, and then we're just going to be, the divided states of America. There will be no unity.
Again, don't get me wrong. I'm with you. Why it's something we should keep our eye on and what in the world goes on because, well, weird shit happens.
That it does.
All right. That, this is not as much of I don't think it is as much of this. I'm more worried about World War III breaking out in Europe than I am over a Christian nationalist movement actually taking root.
Right.
And, are you with me?
Yeah.
I'm more worried about that comet that's supposed to hit us in what? 2036.
Whatever. I'm less worried about that than anything else. I'll be lucky if I'm still alive around that time.
I mean, I'm just saying there's a lot on my list that I'm more concerned about.
That comes ahead of that, yeah.
That comes ahead of this, and I don't understand why in the world the pagan community is really getting that hung up on it. Are you with me? And I don't mean, I'm not talking about not talking about it, but...
Well, I think it's just the nature of the generations now that tend, not all of them, but most of them tend to get triggered over little things, and then it's a whole dramatic effect. And
Right.
there are more drama queens now than there have ever been in this nation. People get ticked off over the slightest little thing and make a big deal out of it.
They turn mountains into molehills.
Yes, they do.
Or, excuse me, they turn molehills into mountains.
Yeah, and so it kind of makes me wonder why.
Well, see,
Is there a way that we can fix that? Can we?
But with that in case, is the Christian nationalist movement actually as big as we think it is, or has it just been overhyped before?
See, that's a good question.
Attention?
That's a good question. I mean, how are we going to know? That's not on the U.S. Census.
No.
Are you a white Christian nationalist? Are you a black Christian? Are you just a Christian nationalist? That is not on the U.S. Census. How do we keep track
Then I'm
of
sorry. Then you stick the whole black and white thing. That even makes it even worse.
I know, right?
All right. I'm like, really, y'all? Really?
Because now we're back to, okay, are we resurrecting the old days of the KKK?
Right.
Is that what we're actually doing when we're talking
About? Yeah.
Well, not we, but is that what the Christian nationalists are trying to do?
Well, I'm sorry.
Good Lord, come on, y'all.
We've heard what was that we listened to about their prayer or something, or their national anthem, and I'm kind of like, y'all have lost y'all's mind.
Yeah, it was some type of creed that they were praying, and it was very disturbing.
It was very arrogant and not Christian whatsoever.
It was very authoritative. Yes,
authoritarian.
Yes. Like I said, it was very disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess each their own. I'm sure there. Well, I don't want to say I'm sure, but there's possibly a pagan equivalent out there.
Could be.
It would not surprise me.
They just haven't made themselves known.
They're just not as known.
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't rule it out.
Are there pagan nationalists?
I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, there's probably some folks that say, "Well, we are a pagan nation."
Well, but again, I'm not going to sit here and bang my head up because some Christian concepts were weaving into our.
Yeah.
I'm not going to set my hair on fire for this.
Well, that's
a different story.
That's a whole nother argument. That's a whole nother thing there. But yeah.
But no, I do not think we were originally set up to be specifically a Christian nation.
I don't think so either. I think because of what our founding fathers and the early settlers
and were
coming from, the place that they were coming from
were very Christianized nations to begin with.
Right.
I mean, because y'all got to remember everybody coming over here, all the people that England let come over here were the Quakers and all the religions they did not agree with.
Right.
Came here. They weren't just asked. They were sort of encouraged to leave.
Probably, yeah.
A lot.
It's like, you want to leave? Please
leave. We won't.
Because you do not fit in with our beliefs.
Right. So again, you're going to wind up with the same problem here. This is what this country, and you're wanting to go right back to it.
Yeah. Now, did our founding fathers have any idea that paganism at some point would rear its head up again and become what it has today?
I think some had a hope.
Probably.
I really do believe there were a few of the founding fathers that were more paganish. I wouldn't say
definitely.
Pagan or witchcraft, but more pagan-ish.
Yeah.
In their thoughts.
Could have been.
And there was a hope that there would be a realignment to a religion of wisdom and enlightenment and nothing of authoritarian.
But again, when they sat down and they wrote the Constitution, that was in there. Freedom of religion.
It's literally the first.
And if we go to a Christian nationalist nation,
you're going to have to take that out.
You have to take that out.
Because then you can't speak against the church or the actual government either.
Right.
Because now your speech is going to have to be curtailed.
Mm-hmm. Which is also, it's going to infect our freedom of speech.
So, go figure.
Whole nother can of worms.
Another can of worms. Like I said, I don't think it's anything to worry about. And directly, I don't see a group like this ever. Because again, these questions will come up. People will ask these questions of them.
I hope they would.
If they take power and stuff like that. But again, I have 1,000 other things I'm more concerned about.
True.
Than this actually happening. Let's go get some coffee.
All right. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk